All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Lion's Game by Nelson DeMille. This is book number 2 in his John Corey mystery / international thriller series that came out in the year 2000, which we're going to be talking about a lot about the time period this came out. Anyway, I've got all the Nelson DeMille books over here on my shelf. He is one of my favorite writers. We've got all the Nelson DeMille books right there. And there are, I think, 8 John Corey books, maybe 9. And then he's got another couple of series that are only 2 books each. Let's see, it's The Gatehouse and The Gold Coast, and then The General's Daughter, and some other book of his has another. Anyway, he's just a great mystery / thriller writer. This book came out in 2000. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I've been collecting Nelson DeMille books for a long time. I actually probably bought this in the year 2000. In the year 2000! Anyway, so the cover, the little icon here was an illustration painted by a Stanishaw Fernandez, I believe is the name. And he probably painted a half a dozen little icons for Nelson DeMille books back in the day. It looks like a pretty sharp looking book there. I like the cover quite a bit. I like the fonts and the color of it. It's purple. Purple. I think that's a line from Simpsons. Anything could be a line from The Simpsons. Anyway, John Corey, our main character. I've already read and reviewed book number 1 in the John Corey series, which was Plum Island. If you want to watch that review, just type in my last name, Durfee, enter your YouTube search bar, and then type in Plum Island or Nelson DeMille, and that video review will magically appear upon your computer screen. So John Corey, our main character, he's a former NYPD homicide detective policeman. Now he's on the anti-terrorist task force. He's been shot 3 times, which messes with his psyche a little bit, changed his personality a little bit. The book is told mostly through the first-person viewpoint of John Corey. He's a very wisecracking guy. He's fun and rude, very un-PC. He's like Robert B. Parker's Spencer, if you know about those books. The dude is just the sharpest guy in the room. He's got the quickest wit. He's not like Jack Reacher. I mean, Jack Reacher is all of those things, plus about 6'4" and 260 pounds of muscle. John Corey is all of those things, but just not 6'4" and 2. He's like a normal sized guy. But anyway, it's fun to follow him. Nelson DeMille does a great job of capturing this man's personality. Very big, vibrant personality. And makes it fun to read the book. It's funny. There's laugh-out-loud moments in this thriller, which is a serious thriller. Now, the other chapters are told through the perspective of our terrorist. He's hunting a terrorist because he has moved from the NYPD homicide detective team to the anti-terrorist task force in the year 2000. In the year 2000. Now, a lot of stuff. This is crazy. Nelson DeMille in the year 2000 predicts. I mean, he talks a lot about the first attack on the World Trade Center when the terrorists tried to put a bomb underneath it and how close they got to like knocking over the building. And basically our main character, John Corey, and some of the other characters are like, they're not done attacking the World Trade Center. They're going to keep attacking it. And eventually they might succeed, which is like crazy predicting for what's going to happen just a year later. This book came out in the year 2000, and a lot of stuff that's predicted in this book about terrorism comes true. I mean, that's crazy. That was a fascinating part of the book, is to just see what terrorist experts thought about terrorism in the year 2000 before 9/11 anyway. So, I mean, they even talk in here about how airplanes are as effective as bombs if you fill them full of jet fuel and crash them into things. Just insane. So anyway, our main bad guy, who we get to see through his perspective most of the story, he's a Libyan terrorist known as the Lion. And he is defecting into America. He's going to turn himself in, give up state secrets of Libya, and as long as he can have sanctuary in America. And so there's this elaborate scheme to get this guy from Libya into America. It's just an elaborate scheme. And the whole time I'm thinking, the fuck are they going to all that trouble for? I'm like, they should have just waited till today, and we've got an open border in Mexico. You can just dance your way right on in. You don't need no elaborate schemes. Just hopscotch in, somersault in, crawl, go 1 inch at a time. Nobody's going to take 5 weeks to cross your body across. Then nobody's going to give up. But in this book, the borders of the United States were a little more battened down, and so they had to have this elaborate scheme to get this terrorist into America with nobody knowing. And I was just thinking, oh my God, okay, that's an elaborate scheme. Made sense back then, makes no sense now. But anyway, so John Corey is tasked with going to the airport, JFK, and picking up this terrorist, the Lion, and whisking him off to be debriefed and all the things that you do when someone defects to America. So they get to the airport. They know the 747's coming in with this guy. Now, it's a regular 747 commercial airline jet full of passengers. They've just got this terrorist handcuffed in one of the rows, in one of the seats. But that's the way they do. Don't want to draw attention. It is an elaborate scheme. But it's clever in a lot of ways, because as John Corey and the other terrorist task force guys are waiting for this plane to land, radio communication goes dead. And the plane's still landing. And that control tower's like, we need to clear you for landing, and nobody's answering. So the radio communication is dead. The plane still lands. I did not know this, but we find out, well, I probably shouldn't. It's a small spoiler. Not really a spoiler, just more of a Tom Clancy-esque fun gadgetry type of trivia that's in this book. But you know that every airplane that's ever a commercial airline that ever takes off, it's pre-programmed to land in its designated spot without incident in case something happens to the pilots, like maybe they go unconscious or they sleep or whatever. But that plane is pre-programmed to go ahead and fly its normal route and just land itself at the appropriate airport on the appropriate runway, and voila. I learned that. I learned that reading this book. So anyway, of course, inside the airplane where this supposed terrorist that's defecting is coming down, things go ass over a teapot in that plane, and the terrorist, he's not defecting. He's smuggling himself into the United States to create havoc. And oh, the havoc he creates. He gets away with it. He gets into the United States. He's on the loose. And he's a dangerous dude. And when we get to his chapters, as well written and funny and clever and cool as the John Corey chapters are, the terrorist chapters are equally chilling. They are chilling. He's a bad guy, and he's out to specifically kill a group of certain men that were involved in a bombing in Libya back in 1986. And we get the flashbacks to 1986 when this terrorist was a kid, of how his family was killed in these bombings by Americans. And now his goal is to kill all the people that were involved in that. And that's the plot. And it goes from there. I won't say much more. It's just an absolute... I mean, you get to see how easily it would be for a young man to be radicalized to become a terrorist. And I think that's one of the themes of the book is just look at the things that happened in this guy's life. And man, if you were in his shoes, wouldn't you kind of do the same thing? It's crazy the way it's kind of brought forward. Now the guy is a complete douchebag, so I would think that I would not do the same thing. But, hey, I think I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be a terrorist. That's just say that to be on the safe side. But anyway, I liked this book a lot. I only touched the fraction of a plot here. A lot is going on. This is like an 800-page book. It's thick. Great thriller, great characters, absolutely wonderful. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Just one of the best thrillers by one of the best thriller writers ever. The Lion's Game by Nelson DeMille.